We're proud to have today's episode sponsored by Ergo Pouch, an Aussie company born right here in Melbourne. It all started when founder Alina Sack, a sleep-deprived mum, sewed her first sleeping bag to help her restless bubs sleep better. That little idea grew into a trusted brand making beautiful organic sleepwear that supports your child's development from newborn to 6 years old. The products are TOG rated for warmth, made from certified organic cotton and built to last. They're also big on sustainability, which is something I'm really passionate about, especially when it comes to looking after the environment for our kids. So please check them out and show some love as they're helping pop culture parenting grow into the future.
Hey, Dr. Billy Garvey, we have just wrapped up episode 127, reflection episode on when to worry. What are people going to learn this week?
Yeah, well, we had so many, many more than we've had in a while, actually, questions come through. So thank you for everyone contributed. We can only read out a percentage of them, but they all inform which ones we pick. A lot of beautiful sharing and vulnerability. The shorts became long, which I said this was going to be a quick one. It's ended up being a long one because we do one take, which is probably no surprise. And we really go deeply into what it means for us, how to practically go over some of those barriers that we experience. We hear beautiful long stories, long questions around kids that are really struggling, younger kids, older kids. Some pretty heartfelt reflections and advice that comes through as well that got us both a bit emotional.
Yep. Hey, worth calling out just quickly, I've just realised.
Oh, yes, merch.
We've got merch, which on the back of our merch has all of our live shows available on the Guiding Growing Minds website at the moment. Click the link in the Instagram bio if you can see it or just go through. But it's a beautiful T-shirt. I shouldn't just show the back and I shouldn't show it upside down. It's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous, and all of that profits from the merch go back into the amazing work we do. Thank you for Berry Street Education Model supporting the tour. We cannot wait to meet as many of you as possible. High fives, hugs, be emotional, funny, captivating.
Oh, just wait for it. Hey, Billy, we've got a wrap. We've only got 90 seconds. Thanks very much, guys. Enjoy the episode.
Hi, I'm Billy, a developmental paediatrician.
And I'm Nick, a developing parent.
We're going to use scenes from iconic movies to talk about how we best support our kids.
This is pop culture parenting.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. I don't want to see anybody else either.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Just use your best judgment. We trust you.
Good morning, Dr. Billy Garvey. How are you?
Good, Dr. Nick.
That's good.
It was very exciting. Even on the car ride here, we spoke most of the way.
We did.
Half an hour.
Yeah.
Just to
I haven't
get
seen
as
you.
much Dr. Nick in my life as I can.
Well, we've got an intense period coming up.
I would say a great one.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the first of our national tour happens tomorrow, so it will have happened a couple of days ago when this comes out on
Correct.
Monday. It's currently Thursday.
Yep. We've got a bunch of shows nationally coming up.
Yeah, we're in Adelaide pretty soon, actually.
In Adelaide, let me just see. If those of you who are watching, you can buy the T-shirt on the website, actually, in fact. And we have on the back of it the dates of the national tour, Billy, which is, and I'll run through them, Melbourne, the 27th of March, which we've just done, the National Theatre. In April, we are in Adelaide at the Gov on Gather Round weekend. So if you're looking for something else to do.
What date is that?
11th of April.
April, yeah.
22nd of May, a very important day in Sydney at the Factory Theatre. Brisbane, June 28, the Princess. July 17 in Newey at the Civic Theatre. Cannot wait to go to Newcastle. 4th of September, Perth at Subiaco Arts Centre.
Yeah, amazing.
Bang.
So that will be officially launched on Monday, probably after the pod comes out, but go for it because it's on the merch. Right. It's already on the merch.
It's already on the merch.
So, yeah, we are coming. We really wanted to come down south for WA, but just the requests on the poll got dominated by coming to Perth.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of people that wanted us to come down south, which I loved.
Did they?
And I felt like, how come I would really love it because there's good surf
Well,
down
that'd be
there.
nice down there.
But you make it up. I'll make it up to you in Newey, mate.
Oh,
there's some good surf there.
Yes, well, I don't get in the water much these days, but that's okay. I'll be thrilled to get to Newcastle, Merewether. Maybe someone can give me some waves. Just be nice.
Yeah. And yes, and so very exciting. The show is going to be amazing. We cannot wait. Also the merch. Yes, the merch, which we're wearing, we're donning. This one's a little bit too loose on my liking. It's
it's less fitted than, the last one.
Yeah.
It is.
I did that at RMIT as it was raining about 4 minutes before I was a keynote in the State Library. So that was one take, which is rare for me. That was one take, and I just went for it. So, but 100% of the profits in the merch go to all the amazing stuff that Guiding Growing Minds does. So please check it out. By doing that, you're helping us. I also really like, a lot of people are requesting it as like a signal to people on the playground and stuff, to be like, I listen to PCP, and then if you listen to it and see the merch, you go over and say hi. Because that's a big part of the live show tour as well, is that it's not just a show. It's too late to warn for Melbourne. We're going to do that separately, but come early.
If you're expecting a simple live podcast recording,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You're going to be very excited.
Apologies in advance. It is not that.
Oh, it's even better than that.
Oh, I think it's far better than that, Billy.
Yeah,
It's
we've
more-
tapped your creative outlet, your acting chops.
My dramaturge.
Yeah. So Nick is contractually obligated to the podcast for another 500 episodes. But if anyone, who would you star, mate? Or who would you want to be in the next movie? What's the role that you were born to play?
Someone anxious and frenetic.
What about taking over from the cruise ship?
I'm not about to. I would.
The next Bond?
Oh, I'd be terrible. Shut up. Next Bond villain. Billy, let's get cracking. People didn't come to listen to my acting chops.
What's your approach on the Bond villain?
Oh, Billy, just wait. People are
The
sleeping.
metal teeth?
I am a triple threat when it comes to a live show, let me tell you.
So, yeah, for all the other cities, the live show is not just about the show. It starts the moment you get there. And the best bit for us is meeting everyone after, isn't it? So so you don't need just a 90-minute babysitter, is I guess what I'm saying.
Might not be the best bit. I mean, I love meeting people. Don't get me wrong, that's fantastic. But I have been working up a certain number to finish on, let me tell you. And it may not get out of Melbourne. It might be one and done and we
Who's
go.
that amazing dancer that used to like get up on the table and like tap dancing? Remember
Fred
from like this? Yeah. You're going to do one of those numbers?
Yeah, Fred and Ginger. Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire. That was a pairing.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's change it up. I'll let the team know. Sorry.
Hey, we're
Yeah.
back.
We're back.
All right?
We're
This
back.
is serious.
Yeah.
This is part
Sorry,
2.
This is serious. Yes.
Well, it's not very serious. It's an episode about when to worry.
Yeah.
We did Titanic. It was
Yeah.
fantastic. The last hour was...
Yeah, do you like the iceberg analogy?
Yeah.
Came through in a lot of questions.
Which
It's always nice.
what are icebergs? And yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Loved it. Great analogy.
Yeah.
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 But we did start with some polls on social as well.
We did. We were overwhelmed by questions for this. And very quickly, I'll say to you on the next step, we don't have guests. We're getting like 10 to 15 requests a day of a guest. I'll go on any podcast. Like I love the sound of my own voice so much that if you want me to be a guest, I'm here for that. But we just don't have guests. So I feel sorry because you know what? The PR guys and the individuals, they email 4 or 5 times saying just following up, just looping back. So we don't have guests. Nick is irreplaceable. I hope I'm irreplaceable. There's not another email account, is there, that's like trying to figure out who replaces me? But yeah, so there was a lot of people that resonated with this, and we had a lot coming through. We also had a lot of questions coming through that actually relate more to the back catalogue. So there's some
Like what
exciting
else?
stuff, like lots of them, like sleep,
Anxiety.
toileting, anxiety, mental health first aid, all of that stuff, and like what do I do? There's a little bit here because there's some really important ones that came up.
Sure.
But the back catalogue is going to get easier to navigate soon. So just because there are, 200 and something hours of us talking about this stuff that often comes up.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah. But you wonder if we can make it so that you can find the best jokes when you navigate the back.
I don't think AI is that good, Billy. All right, let's go with the polls. Hey, Billy, we asked people, do you sometimes think you should be worried about your child? 92% of people said yes.
What do you say?
Yeah, I'm constantly worried about it. I'm constantly
Yeah.
worried about my child, about most things.
Yeah.
I just have a free floating, which I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll
same.
touch on. I'd say.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that.
Yeah, I worry about my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, like someone, I find it hard. I find stuff sometimes a hard watch. Even though I know it's all normal and they've got to go through these things, like when someone's mean or rude to your kid, I worry.
Yeah.
Just that. Like I
Yeah.
just default and you're like, oh. But like that other kid's just figuring it out. And I think unless they're doing it in a really dysfunctional way, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, oh. So yeah, I worry about my kid.
I just had very quickly on that a beautiful conversation with this amazing person. She has a lot to support for GGM over the years since we started. And she was talking about, she could come off as like quite a like firm parent. And it's like she's a beautiful demonstration of the difference between like the permissive, gentle parenting kind of movement where she's like, I want my kids to be able to handle discomfort and failure and all that stuff. But the thing I know about her is that she's so connected with them. She's like got a teenage, nearly adult son, and she's like, we speak every single day. Like, and she's been like that the whole time. So she's like, you need to be independent, you need to be resilient, you need to be able to figure this stuff out on your own. But her relationship comes first with all of it. And so it's a really important thing about like the distinction between being hard and soft and the middle ground of like, yeah. So I just think it's that idea of when to worry. Do you know the other big thing, which is on this topic, and I'll say it now just because it's in my head, I worry that there's stuff going on, like as in clinical stuff with my kids, and that's what I find hard. I just be a dad. I don't be a paediatrician, a developmental ped to my kids. But I do worry about the icebergs of like, which is going to come up a lot in this, of is there something underlying that has not been identified accurately that would help?
In your own kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that worry. Like I have that, and obviously it's part in clinic because it's like a 3-year wait to get to us and all these people are trying to get help sooner. And so I'm like, oh man, I wish that I'd helped this kid and got to this kid sooner. So it's hard not to go home and be like, what are the things in my own kids?
Stuff.
Yeah, trying to find stuff and, threat seeking a little bit of like, well, how can I get ahead of this stuff and look for it and be hyper vigilant? And a lot of that's like, there's lots of reasons that we won't unpack now. But yeah, I think that can be the challenging stuff of like when you hear that nearly a quarter of kids start school with a developmental vulnerability or risk, you're like, man, is my kid going to be one of those, 1 in 4? And just how do I catch that? So we'll talk about that more. So I'm definitely in the 92.
Cool. Hey, Billy. Do you wish you realised sooner that your child needed support? 80% of people said yes. Why would? Okay.
I think PCP has a really strong community and people that are actually facing big challenges next to their kid. And I think it just speaks to, one of the most beautiful things that came through off probably hundreds of messages and emails was I wish I trusted my gut. Like we'll come back to that again because I think I put it as maybe a long, but and wishing I'll save it for one of the shorts, but I understand that.
Okay. Last one, Billy. Are you struggling to get help for your child? Half of the people said yes.
Yeah, so initially I was like, oh, that's not a big number, but then I was like, that's a huge number. That's, you know what I mean? The fact that, and we're talking about thousands of people respond to those those polls on the pod. Like thousands of people are saying they're struggling to get help. And so like GGM has a bigger answer to that, but it just shows how much there's a need out there for actual expertise to come into the world for these families. So, yeah. So, yes. Yeah.
Billy.
Shorts. Yeah.
With shorts. Hey, Billy, what's the difference between developmental delay and something more sinister?
Can you remember this? Remember what we talked about with developmental delay?
I remember we talked about the 5 or 7 developmental areas.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So that's actually really helpful because
for those that didn't,
we're worried more about, so there's a lot of different ways you can split it.
Social.
Yeah, cognitive and language is one thing that, one way to get split. So, it can be more worrying if it's more than one of those areas, that there might be something more sinister, for want of a better word.
It's like compounding.
Yeah, well, just more's going on if we think about it as like from a neurological perspective, if there's more than one part of the brain that's impacted, it's not just language, it's not just fine motor, that we can be worried that there's more going on. If it's persistent, how far behind they are, how much is impacting their functioning, those type of things make us worry. But remembering that developmental delay can only be called so retrospectively. So that was the bit that we talked about last time, which is essentially it's only when the kid's caught up and functioning at the expected level that we can say, they just had developmental delay in their language or their walking or whatever it is like that. So,
okay. Hey, Billy, how to navigate people with neurodivergent child, how to navigate helping your neurodivergent child make friends and when to worry or when to step back?
It's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what I try and always think about is how's the kid going? Mm-hmm. Like what is my expectation and what matters to me and what's the kid? So if we're watching a kid who's actually functioning really well, but they're not the life of the party, then I'm less worried. If I'm watching a kid who wants to connect with others but doesn't have the skill set, then that's when I worry and think about that. The beautiful thing about neurodivergent kids is that they have these amazing interests and they're often the best bridge to social relationships. For example, what we know is that when you think about individual playing kids, and there's a developmental progression of this in terms of age, like a 2-year-old will often just play on their own. A 6-year-old will normally have what's called collaborative play. The bridge to that is often parallel play. So seeing parallel play as a bridge between individual play and just giving opportunities for parallel play. I think sometimes we're like, oh, they should be interacting. But actually kids just being together in the same space is a really good bridge for, say, an autistic child that's really into train sets.
Yeah.
And then they're just in that room and they're not directly interacting, but they're getting safe and feeling comfortable and then letting them go at their pace, I think is a really important thing about how you do that. And I do like the idea of stepping back, but I like the idea of stepping back and watching that they succeed instead of they'll figure it out on their own. I think there's too much of that in the world of like...
And I don't think often, I'm not the expert, I don't think often having 20 people to play with at once increases their odds of playing.
Well, no, it often overwhelms them.
Correct.
And we talk about that as like the day party or playground being a game day.
That's what I'm saying. That's a game day. So like, my 2 cents would be have like smaller play dates as well, just to see how they go one-on-one and short and punchy. But I just keep saying the same thing over and over. That's one of my ones. You're just like, if you're worried, like see how they go with something really structured as a play, as opposed to sending them off to the park with 15 kids of 8 different ages and that's not increasing their odds. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. And there's behavioural, not behaviouralism, but there's like behavioural economics in it as well. Like, the idea that if there's a whole apple sitting in a fruit bowl that you'll never eat it, but if you slice it up and put it on a bench, it gets eaten. Like just that, you just made something happen because you did one little thing. I think it's the same with a lot of these kids of how do you scaffold activities that it's not the apple that's cut up, it's the train set that's laid out. And it just goes, this is what little Nikki loves and little Nikki's doing it and enjoying it and immersed in it. But there's also another kid that's just in the space that's getting scaffolded support for parallel play that will hopefully become collaborative.
Yeah, just another one for what it's worth. If your kid's watching TV, just give them cucumbers and apple because they'll just eat it mindlessly. Try and sit them at the table to eat it and they'll be like, I'm not eating that, old man.
You've got a beautiful trick you do where you hold a cucumber and you pretend you're like, don't eat it, and then you look away, and all of the kids love it, and you can get them to eat any with that trick. Yeah. You just make it fun.
Yeah, it's make it fun. Introduce play. It's a lot of energy. Hey, Billy, not a question, but it's so hard when everyone else is like, it's fine, don't worry too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually, there was a lot of shorts that came through about like, helicopter parenting and all that kind of stuff. And I think we've got to move away from this idea of like judging other people for how they parent. And it's not very helpful to say you're worrying too much. If you're really worried about something and I was like, you worried too much.
I think it's well intended though.
Totally. But it's just not helpful.
It's not helpful. I get you.
The difference between nice and helpful.
Yes.
There's a big difference. There's a chasm between those two things.
Yep. You could maybe ask a question that is, why? What do you think's wrong?
Well, you just, like everything, connect first.
Oh, don't. I'm hot on connection at the moment.
Yeah, you're worried about this stuff. Like instead of saying, you're worried too much, being like, hey, it must be hard that you're worried their language is behind or that they're not going to make friends, because they're neurodivergent and they're really focused on everything. Instead of just saying, you'll figure it out. You can get to that point, but you need to connect with someone first, validate their experience, and then help them understand it and be like, share a story, be helpful, give them practical support. It's a much better thing than saying like, you're just a helicopter parent. Like we're trying to meet needs in ourselves. We're trying to support our kids as best as we can. And there needs to be less judgment and just being like, this is tough. I actually need someone to just validate that and connect with it and understand that before I can get anywhere near getting to a healthier way of thinking and being around my kids.
I feel like that's almost that's it, you know?
Yeah, it's a big part of it. It's a big part of what we try and do. I don't want to be an expert that's coming in here and being like, get them off screens. They need to eat whole foods. They need to. Well, it's not helpful.
No, it's not helpful.
Yeah, it just makes you feel shame and like you're failing. And then what everyone does then is they isolate.
Speaking of shame, what do you do when your child refuses help due to shame, but you can see the gap is widening?
Yeah, so we had a lot of, it's funny, the longs are mainly younger kids, which I think speaks to our misunderstanding around, you know, I think we're very good at like worrying about little kids because they're behind, but we're not very good at worrying about teenagers. And so I deleted a couple of shorts because there was like 50 of them around a teen that won't listen and won't ask for help. I think the reason I picked this one is shame is a really dangerous feeling to have, and especially if you stay with it. Like I have a lot of shame, and I think trying to understand what is the need in that kid and just what it really is accepting them for who they are. And so that's what that kid needs. Like before you can get anywhere near the fact that their gap is widening, it's that kid feeling like they aren't enough just in who they are. And that's really at the basis of shame, is like you are enough as you are. Like failures, mistakes and everything. And I think a lot of us as kids didn't experience that, whether it was, for want of a better word, the milder stuff of like you need to do well academically at school, to being like, I thought you were a better person than that and I'm really disappointed that you've gone and done that. You know, that's a really heavy thing to give to a kid. Imagine hearing that as an adult. But we give that to kids all the time, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Like I thought you were better than that. You know, I'm really disappointed. That's shaming someone.
Okay.
You can say, I know you're capable of treating someone better than that, but saying I thought you as a person were better than that, that's shame. That's not guilt.
It's not attacking the behaviour, it's attacking the person.
Yeah. And I think addressing that in the kid, that's where often those kids shut down, is that they just don't feel good about the person that they are, and trying to help them with that is really important.
Yeah, okay. It's one to watch out for. Hey, Billy, how do you identify early that you need help as a parent to better support your child?
I mean, yeah, it's not meant to be hard all the time. You know, it's not meant to be something that's a constant grind. It's meant
you don't reckon parenting's meant to be hard?
I think there's meant to be hard moments. Like think about anything else. Think about your BJJ.
Yep.
There's hard bits to it, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
But it's not always hard, is it?
No, or you wouldn't do it.
Exactly. That's exactly the same for parenting. I think, but so many people are like, they just think, oh, this is how it is. It's like all these questions we got about, like, how do you figure out if a teen's shutting you out and being moody and not talking to anyone is normal, or to worry? It's not normal. That is not a normal passage of adolescence to, you know, lock yourself in your room, never speak to your parents. Like, but we culturally believe that. So we just go, that's what it's like. And
yeah, that's what I hear is coming.
It's like this crap about like partners being ball and chains. Like I hate those sayings. Yeah, it's like, why do we do it then? It's like my PhD. Everyone was like, don't do a PhD, they're awful. I was like, I actually enjoyed a lot of it. You know, I'm in a partnership with Annalise because I adore her. She's my favourite person in the world after you. And it's like, but it's one of those things. Parenting is not meant to be like this. And so I think moving away from like, oh, it's because I'm crap at it, to being like, I need help. I need help. I get help from you. I get help from Annalise. You're my two main harbours in storms. You're my two main, what do I do about this? Practically, emotionally, you know, all of that stuff. And I feel so arrogant saying this, but I'm a leading expert.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do, the reason you're not hearing me just talk about all the advice and I'm telling my story is because I love telling my story. The second reason is because I'm trying to show that there's no one who's actually perfect at it.
Yep.
I think so many of the parenting experts just don't really understand what that is, but talk about how like they nail everything, or the influencers that are nailing everything. And I'm like, I'm not nailing everything, so I don't believe them.
Yep.
And there's too many people that are believing them and thinking there's something wrong with me because I should be nailing it too. And we've lost our village. You know, like we've lost all of the support, the wisdom that got shared and got handed down through generations. Like, yeah, I don't, you know, like I remember calling you in the middle of the night because Annalise went into labour.
Yep.
If you didn't pick up that phone.
I know. Then it was a false alarm and I got dismissed. And then I came back.
Well, Annalise being as she was, she's like, I think we got there, we parked, and she's like, no, I'm not going in. They're not close enough. I'll just spend the night here. So we drove back home. Classic Annalise. But
That was
anyway.
with Charlie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you were lying in bed. You were lying in Evie's room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you got home because settling wasn't going well. Needed a sleep expert. You know anyone?
Well,
Well,
depends, does it? No matter how good looking.
okay, right. Billy. Line between 4-year-old being anxious, sensitive, and neurodivergent needing assessment.
Yeah.
How do you draw that line with a 4-year-old?
So, let's pick out under 4 of them quickly.
And a what?
Because what was there was 4 things. There was needing an assessment, neurodivergent, anxiety, and sensitivity, wasn't there?
Yeah, we're saying one's anxious, sensitive, and being neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And needing assessment.
So, but yes, I'm intentionally saying there's 4 things there, not 2.
Okay,
So
right.
let's unpack it properly.
Okay, good,
That's why I
good.
picked this one.
Yes, you're good.
So
like this.
sensitive is temperament.
Yep.
I have a
You're
sensitive
born with
temperament.
You're
Yeah,
born
it's
with
bang,
temperament. You're
bang.
locked.
Born with
It's
it,
locked.
genetically locked.
You got to learn to.
Yeah.
I say to my daughters, I'm like, sorry, hon, that's from me. You're a bit
Yeah,
sensitive.
same. I said it to
Okay,
Evie
mate.
the other day.
Yeah, honey.
She was having a meltdown and really struggling. And when she got calm, I was like, you have big feelings. So do
Yeah.
I. We're going to learn together how to handle them. You will help me figure out mine and I'll try and help you figure out yours.
I do say, but you can thank me for the beautiful locks you've got.
Yes.
Okay, go.
Yeah, so important to distinguish between being sensitive does not equal being anxious.
Okay.
Those are 2 different things.
Okay, tell me the difference.
Well,
What's anxious?
my sensitivity is that I'm sensitive,
gotcha.
but also in the world, I'm sensitive to what experiences I have. I can have positive emotions from things. I walk in to here and beautiful Callum from the Man Cave is supporting us. And my sensitivity and my temperament means that I really connect with him.
You do.
And I have this great experience with him.
You do.
And he's helping us do all of this, but I'm on this
brilliant.
deeper level. Whereas if I wasn't as sensitive, I might roll in and be like, hey man, how you going? Thanks for setting it up. And that's it. But I'm the latest for an hour because I was talking to him so much. That's the sensitive in my temperament. That does not equal anxiety.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean I'm anxious.
Yep.
Now, there's also a difference between what we call normative anxiety and clinical anxiety.
Talk to me.
So normative anxiety is that toddlers struggle to separate from primary caregivers and are nervous around strangers. It is not normative developmentally for kids in primary school to be like that.
So it's okay to have anxiety.
It helps us function. It's like it's okay to have anger.
And anxiety keeps us safe from the tiger in the jungle when we were living.
Yeah, bang.
Yeah, what was it?
Yeah, book
It's a
one.
normal level to be like, don't
Yeah.
go running into that jungle because there's a tiger in there.
Yeah,
That used to
yeah.
keep us safe. So anxiety
Yeah.
does keep us safe.
So the humans that evolved and contributed to the genetic pool were the ones that were good at being like, we need to be careful.
So we've been bred with anxiety.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kept us alive, but we don't need
We don't
it.
need
at
it.
that level
We don't
anymore.
need it to that level anymore. And
Yeah.
that's when it becomes dysfunctional if it's too overactive.
Yeah, if it's too overactive, if you're seeing tigers like when there isn't any, and we make the mistake of saying to kids there's no tiger there, but actually their body is saying there is.
Okay, how do we tell the 4-year-old? How can we tell if a 4-year-old is seeing too many tigers?
Well, they shouldn't if it's impacting their functioning. If their anxiety means that they're struggling to function well, and just going to daycare doesn't mean you're functioning well, they should be enjoying daycare. And there was another question, I can't remember if I kept it in the short. I did? I'll park it then. And then, well, in case I didn't, it is not normal to struggle to go to daycare and not enjoy it. That is not normal. It's not normal at daycare, it's not normal at kinder, it's not normal at school. Those are meant to be positive experiences, and if they're not, there's a reason. And you address that reason. Every single kid that I've ever met, which is thousands and thousands, has the ability to succeed in those environments.
Okay.
It's about understanding why they're not and meeting that need, whether it's accommodation or skill development. And if a kid is in the clinical range, so they're tipping into the anxiety, like, you know, I'm a bit anxious going into this podcast before we hit record because I'm like, I hope I do it well. But it actually switches me on. Whereas if I was like, oh, I can't do it, mate. I'm so nervous. I'm sorry, mate. I can't do the podcast or the live show. I'm not able to get out on stage. but I'll be anxious before we do that, but I'll perform because of that anxiety. Whereas if I didn't care about it, I wouldn't be able to put my drive into it. So anxiety and anger are signals to our brain that they need to do something. Do you know what I mean? That's why they exist. That's why those emotions exist. It's the emotion that then leads the behaviour. Do you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll talk about some deeper stuff. But so that's very quickly the distinction between that. The distinction between neurodivergence and assessment is a really different one as well. Those two things are different. You do not need, so anyone that comes and sees me in clinic, they decide whether we go down an assessment pathway. They decide whether we think.
Parent?
The family.
Gotcha.
You know, because often it's little kids. So the little kid can't make a call of, do I want to find out if I'm autistic or not? But the parents should always lead that. But so many questions came in from people saying, I'm nervous there's going to be a label on my kid. You know, and so you lead that. A clinician supports you through that process. But it breaks my heart, the kids that I've met that were told they're autistic without ever understanding what autism is. But someone just took them through, and I'm talking about teenagers as well, where teams took them through an autism assessment, and then I meet the kid and I go, what does that mean? And they're like,
tell us, you've done this beautiful run through of this. I want you to do it now, if you could please, of how you have that combo. You've done this before where you talk about giving a diagnosis and what it means, the gender.
Well, I say, and this is, I'm going to make the short so long.
No, I know, but it's really
Yeah, so there's two things to that, is that whenever and this is how we train our fellows, is that the family leads. It's over a 3-year wait, and we know when you ask survey families, did you get to talk about what you wanted to today? The majority of them say no.
Why?
Well, because we just walk in and we're like, I've read the referral, you know, your kid's struggles with social and communication and has these repetitive behaviours. I think it's autism. I'll go through the autism process. And the parent's not like, well, parent doesn't feel comfortable to say, that's actually not what I'm here for. I just want to know how to help this kid. Okay. And most families, when I come, I say that I've got 3 roles. I've got my traditional clinician hat of like an assessment, developmental assessment. Like I've said so many times, I never go, does this kid have autism? I do a holistic, thorough, broad developmental assessment. And sometimes that results in this child has autism. But that parent confirms every step of the way that we want to keep progressing towards that. And the child, if possible, if they're old enough. The other thing that I do is advocacy. All of the amazing people in the community, whether it's family service workers, whether it's allied health clinicians, whether it's educators, I try and activate all of them because they're the ones actually supporting these kids. I see the most complex kids less in a year than an educator sees in a day in terms of time, you know, because I just don't have the capacity. The other thing, the final thing is, what do we actually do about all this? And the majority of families, when you give them those 3 options, they want to know what to do. And I don't need to say a child has autism to figure out how to help them. That might happen at the same time if it's the right thing for the kid and the family and everyone else. But an assessment doesn't mean my kid's going to get diagnosed unless that's the right thing to do and the family leads it. We need to move away from this idea that the professional in the room decides the direction that everything goes. Because I've read so many, like we had over 100 messages, I think, from people saying, I'm so nervous that if I go and ask for help, my kid's going to end up with a diagnosis, you know, and they shouldn't. That is an awful barrier for not getting help. So that's the thing. And then, neurodiversity is going to be something that we realise more and more of us, you know, fit into that group. And the beautiful thing about that is, you know, as we've talked about, because of the double empathy problem, people who are neurodivergent are actually very good at connecting with other neurodivergent people because they're much more open about what is someone else's experience, what are their sensory needs, what are their social preferences. But I think as we're seeing that broadening, more and more people are understanding, like, I'm not just disorganised, I actually needed help figuring out this skill set because of ADHD. Or I sucked at school because I have a learning difficulty. That's not my fault any more than it's the fault of someone who needs glasses to read. But the mistake we've been making is telling all these kids, try harder to read. If you saw someone with glasses, took them off them and said, just try harder. It feels awful, doesn't it? And that's what we're doing the whole time to all these neurodivergent kids, about saying, sit still, try harder. Why aren't you picking up? Why aren't you making friends? Why aren't you doing this stuff? And it's because their brain works differently. So that's That's the difference between those 4 things. It's just really important. It's such a beautiful example of like how we get lost sometimes. And a sensitive kid means they're anxious, and a neurodivergent kid means they need an assessment.
Yep. Don't be lost in all that one. That's a good one, Billy.
Yeah.
It's really good. No, good explanation.
Okay.
Sorry. Sometimes I'm personally lost in your answers. Hey, Billy, did I write this one later tonight? I worry my worries will become their worries.
Yeah.
Like I've told you, I think I've talked about this before. I've got a kid that picks up on my stress and calls it out. Calls it out. Why are you so worried? Is it because we've got so many people coming for lunch today? I haven't voiced it. Dad, what's wrong? Why are you so worried? I'm like, oh my God, you're 5.
That's attunement, mate. It's beautiful.
Oh, is it? Doesn't feel like it's helping her.
No, it shows a healthy strength in your relationship with that child.
Oh, is that a nice way? Is it?
No, it's not. I'm not sugarcoating
Not
something.
sugarcoating
it's an
that?
avenue. It's an avenue of connection that exists that you can harness even more if you want to.
I always try and tell her, honestly, I'll go, I'm worried about this.
Yeah. What are
I'll
the 3
tell-
ways we support the emotional development in kids? It's a bit unfair. If you nailed that, I'd be like, support them when they're having emotional difficulties, role model our own emotional difficulties, and when we're all calm, talk about emotions. We don't do that. Like, I think schools should stop teaching algebra until they figure out how to teach kids about emotions.
I'd be happy if they'd stopped achieving algebra in 1994 for the 5 years.
Mate,
I
I'm
was
worried that I'm going to get to like grade 4 maths and I won't be able to help my kids anymore.
Billy. So Henrietta's like English genius. She writes all the time. It's a gig. She's a lawyer. This is my partner. And she goes, but this is great because you do maths. And I go, I do arithmetic. And it stops. I'm actually a fairly strong arithmetician, right? You give me percentages, numbers.
You say genius level?
I wouldn't use the G word. But I'm worried math's going to be, she goes, I'll leave it to you. I'll be like, I'll leave it to AI. So we're all kicking that one. I'll be like, girls, I reckon you drop maths. Just go for humanities.
Yeah. Just go for interpretive stuff. Yeah. But it's funny, isn't it? Because it's such a crap joke, but it's true, is that, the idea that we were told, you won't always have a calculator in your pocket. And I'm like, it turns out we always will have a calculator in our pocket, and that's a bit of a waste of time. The thing is that, so the reason I'm connecting with your story about like my kid picking up, that yes, they do pick up when we're worried, but that's not a reason not to worry. That's, we have to protect our kids from like, if we're completely overwhelmed, we don't want them to experience that because they don't have the adult capacity to be like, how the hell am I going to put food on the table next week? But we don't want to take the blame of that. We want to think about, I need more help. I need to address this worry.
Do you know what I'm worried about this? I worry about a lot of things. I'm worried. So I'm with you on this, and I kind of knew that. You got to model it and show it. I worry that she's learning to worry. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yeah.
I worry that she goes, like I missed a pickup this morning. I was meant to pick up a kid on time. I missed it, pick up at school, coordinate with another family. I stuffed it up and the other parent I just stuffed it up, right? And I was really, really angry at myself. It wasn't because the kids were taking ages or anything. I just lost the time and I did a poor job, right? And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I've messed this up. It didn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, the other parents are legends. They were like, don't worry about it. And I was like, I felt really bad. They were like, it's fine. But I'm worried that she's going to worry about these tiny little things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to teach her that.
What's
the balance? Well, I want to teach her not to worry about those little things because I know I can figure this out myself because I shouldn't be worried so openly about that because it wasn't that big a deal in a sense. So I shouldn't worry so she shouldn't see it.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think it's completely fine to worry about that stuff.
Little things.
It's who you are, being genuine. Yeah, but what do you do then? Figure out a healthy way to process that.
Me?
Yeah.
Instead of
model
just
that.
sitting silently in the car.
Well, you don't
beating
just bury
myself
it and go, well, I'm not going to worry. I'm just going to force that feeling and emotional experience out of my brain.
I wouldn't do that.
But dude, that's not helping her because then if she's worrying about stuff, she's going to be like, I never saw Dad worry. But for her and for you, figure out a healthy way to process that.
Give me an example.
So you go, far out, I stuffed up. God, it's completely overwhelming. I'm feeling like a crap person now.
Yeah,
but you know what? I actually remind myself, I've got a lot on at the moment. I'm juggling a lot of things. These parents are amazing. They're a beautiful part of our community. They're going to be okay with it. just like I step in when they drop the ball a bit. That's a beautiful thing about it. So actually, I was really worried about it, but I'm right to be worried about it, but actually it's going to be okay. Yeah. And so you're role modeling that process. Like another beautiful thing that I heard recently was like a really cool school. It was like, we're not going to teach kids what to think. We're going to teach them how to think.
Yeah, good.
And that's what we want to be doing with our kids. You don't want to teach them to worry or not to worry. You want to teach them how to deal with worry.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You got to deal with it. That's what I've said. I've said that to
But
my
also
kids.
you and I need to deal with it.
Yeah, but I've taught my kids and I'm like, tell me if this is wrong. Like they look worried and I go, you look worried, and they're like, yep. And when it gets to a little bit when they're out of the worried moment, I'm like, I joke and go, you know, you get that worry from me. And I have said just once, I won't say it again if you tell me not to. I've been like, it's kind of going to be a bit of part of you. It's a bit of a part of me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like, but it's I say this to Evie. Like, you know, and I've been clashing with Evie lately because I'm so stressed that I've been like, you know, Annalise came home from, just these like long shifts that she's been doing, and I've been so stressed. And Annalise rolls in, and like I'm arguing with a 4-year-old, you know, over something, and Annalise could roll in and be like, "Hey, you're a grown up. Like, why are you arguing with a 4-year-old?" But she doesn't. She like connects with both of us and realizes I'm stressed. Evie hasn't slept enough, and we're just clashing over something. And you know, I can beat myself up about that. And it's only recently that I'm getting better at being like, I need to be better than that. But beating myself up about it is not going to help. I need to go, hey, that's a symptom that I've got too much on my plate, that I'm arguing with a 4-year-old about not cleaning something up, you know, because I don't want to be that person. I grew up in that environment and I still think about it all these decades later. So I need to be better than that. But just beating myself up or burying that feeling and not role modeling is not helpful.
And do you just try and find a way to connect when that happens?
Yeah, but I also say I'm really, like, the healthy response to that is, this is frustrating me. I'm getting angry because we said that if we played this game, we would both pack it up together, and you've left me to just pack it up.
Yeah.
But I express my emotion, but I've got to think about what's the behaviour that's actually helpful in that steps beyond that, and how to deal with it. I role model myself dealing with that, and which includes sometimes for some people, hey, I just got to walk out of here and take a breath.
Yeah.
You know? And then I walk out and then I come back in and be like, all right, I reckon the answer is that we can play after we've cleaned all this up, another game before bed, if we can do it together. Strengths-based, what I want the kid doing, something together, reinforces connection, all of that stuff. But I couldn't do it the other night. It was just Annalise rolled in and she needed to circuit break it, and then her, and she was able to do it. The place was spotless 20 minutes later because she just connected with Evie and cleaned the whole room up. You know, and then it was celebrated. Evie felt really proud, and even the next day she was bragging to everyone about how she cleaned the room and did it all. So that was, you know, that's the actual answer to it. But I just didn't have the capacity, which was fine.
Got it. Yep. It's like you're having that highlight 2 years after me. Like I have a highlight in the last episode. Like I've been going through the back catalogue for the live show, and I have that, and you're like, I said, deals have been made, and you're...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're so much better at telling those stories. Promises have been broken.
Your promises feels like that.
I
feels
love
like
that
you
one.
had that. Yeah.
My favourite is one that I pinned, which is where you look at the camera, where I'm like, and you're like, give me an example. And I'm like, well, one of your kids says dinner's yuck. And you look at the camera, and whenever I'm having a really crap day, I go back and watch that highlight. It just always makes me feel better.
Hey, let's keep going. And I've made these shorts long.
Yeah, let's take it offline too. I know.
I haven't seen you for a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
It's good to see you. Hey, teenage boys, said with an exclamation mark. How much sullenness is to be expected, and how much to know, and how to far out. Teenage boys, how much sullenness is to be expected, and how to know when to worry?
Yeah, so they're meant to have like emotional roller coaster experiences where they struggle sometimes, they internalize sometimes, they withdraw sometimes, they get angry sometimes. But if they stay in those holes, they're not meant to stay in them.
Couple weeks.
Once again, yeah. Sometimes clinically we talk about 2 weeks, sometimes clinically we talk about 6 months. I don't think 6 months is helpful diagnostically to say that a kid only meets clinical criteria for a mental illness if they've been present for 6 months in two environments. I think that's crazy. That hopefully will change in the future diagnostic manuals. But I think that, when they're stuck there, like I think about it, mate. If one of your kids was shut down for an entire day, you'd be worried, wouldn't you?
Wouldn't last a morning.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what I'm saying. Like the teenagers, it's not normal for them to be like this. It's normal for them to explore being more independent in their identity. It's not normal for them to sever connections with us as family. I think that because we did that, we think it's normal. And because culturally we think, teenagers go through this phase and it's just a phase. And everyone who says it's just a phase, unless they actually have training and experience in developmental psychology, then, it's just a term that you're saying. You don't really understand what a phase is. No developmental phases are meant to be, they're meant to be pressure and they're meant to be testing and they're meant to be stretches. They're not meant to be negative. Does that make sense? It's a bit like it's not normal for teenagers to get kicked out of school, get into physical fights, run around with knives, do heaps of drugs, hurt themselves and their body and their relationships, and they go through it. They're meant to go through a healthy process of risk. But
what's a healthy process? Give me an example of a teenager doing a healthy amount of risk.
Yeah, the biggest risk thing is like going out socially and, exploring who you are without the safety net.
Gotcha.
That's a big risk.
Going to a party.
Yeah, think about it.
Travelling to the footy.
It's going to the party and yes, we worry about doing drugs and all that stuff, but why are they doing the drugs? Why are they doing those things? Yeah, but they're testing who they are. They're exploring their identity. They're trying to fit in. Those are all the bits we need to understand as the phase. Yeah, you worry if they don't have secure enough self-esteem that they get in the car with the underage driver that's drinking. But you build that up. You don't build that in a conversation before the first time they go to a party saying, hey, don't get in a car. Because their insecurity is bigger than that. And that conversation, they don't reflect 2 hours later and go, hey, mum spoke to me about this. They in themselves know that they will be okay if there is a social consequence of not getting in the car, because they have the secure self-esteem. They have the conflict resolution skills. They have the ability to have a voice. They know how to help seek. They know how to understand the perspective of another. And so they know how to protect other teens. Like those are the pro-social skills that most boys are lacking. And that's why they're the ones running around doing all the antisocial behaviour, because no one's taught them as toddlers how to navigate risk, how to be pro-social, how to have secure self-esteem that's not tied to these unhealthy forms of masculinity, of violence and aggression. Like that's my point, is that like it's not an innate part of adolescence to go through these awful things and shut people out. And it's not because you're a bad parent. It's because that kid just has a need that we haven't realised yet. And that's why teenagers are my favourite. They're my favourite kid to meet in clinic is a teenager who's shut down or a teenager who's a bad kid. I can meet the 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds that are struggling emotionally and behavioural stuff. But, that's maybe not as challenging for someone who's got a lot of experience in that space. But I feel like the professional stretch for me is those teens, because they've been sitting with it for longer. They've often more isolated because people say it's just normal for teens to be like this. And it's only when they get kicked out of school or they become really violent or they start self-harming that someone goes, oh, there's a problem here. Whereas really, there was a problem years ago.
Can you picture when ours are going to be teenagers rolling around together?
Yeah. A little, Charlie and the 4 girls.
Charlie and the 4 girls.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking about that really tough one you just talked about, self-harm stuff, when you feel your teen is struggling with mental health issues like cutting, that the person's talking about, but experts say there isn't anything they can do.
Yeah, the reason I included that, I'd be worried about the actual expertise of someone who says that there's nothing you can really do about a teenager who's self-harming.
Self-harming, yeah.
So we need to understand broadly that
what is self-harming?
Self-harming is, someone cutting, someone hurting themselves.
Yeah.
More broadly, it's a flare. It's someone saying, I'm struggling internally and this is an external expression of that.
Yep.
And then there's lots of different reasons. Now, I think it's 12 to 17-year-olds, 10% of them self-harm in a 12-month period. There's a lot of kids. A lot of kids.
Okay.
10%. I can't remember exactly the age window, but it's adolescents that 10% of them in a 12-month period will self-harm. It's a lot of kids. The beautiful thing about it is that when we understand the reasons, and there's not one reason, the reasons that kids do that, we can then connect with them on that reason and help them with that reason. Some of them, it's awful things like they think they deserve to be punished. Some of them is because it's a sensory thing that can take them out of this harder thought to process.
God.
There's trauma, there's deep fear that they have, and they can take away that monster that's too hard to face and bring themselves into the world through that sensory painful experience. And there is so much that you can do for a teen. You need expert help for that. That's not something any parent should be holding on their own, a teen that is self-harming, but there is so much that you can do. Very quickly, mental health first aid is trying to see that and recognise how I react emotionally is going to impact this kid. It's a very easy thing for me to say because I haven't personally experienced it, but I've looked after hundreds of kids and teenagers, including on psych wards, and going towards them and saying, I can see that you're hurt. I'm so sorry you're experiencing this. I want to help. And compassionate, tender, gentle caregiving is part of that physically. I want to help, trying to be calm, not going over and going, oh my God, or why are you doing this? Do you realise how much this is impacting me? This is terrifying me. Oh my God, you've got such a good life. Why would you do this? Do you realise how hard other people have got it? Look at all the great things about you. Do you realise how good a kid you are? I can't believe you're self-harming. None of that helps. Or the other thing, the trap that parents fall into is like, I went through this too. Like a kid doesn't need that. That's not a connection point. That is a kid who's in deep need of something that's
you
going
can
to help.
say that if they ask you later.
Of course, but
Yeah,
you're
but you
leading
don't
with
share
that.
your experience leading with
Yeah.
it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, if you're like, hey mate, I think my marriage is falling apart, and I come, oh mate, I was worried about this last year too. You know, you're going to be like, that's not very helpful.
Yeah.
Like mate, that is awful. I'm so sorry that you're experiencing this. I want to help. You know, that's how you start. That's mental health first aid. Mental health first aid is the idea that we support them and keep them safe in emerging mental illness or a mental health crisis until professional support comes into place. I always feel uncomfortable saying that because there's a 3-year wait, or it's really hard to get, acute care. And rocking up to the ED department, like I remember years ago, when Annalise and I started dating, I used to be, and this is when you and I knew each other a little bit as the love was starting to form, I was getting woken up at 2 a.m. to go into the emergency department and decide whether suicidal or self-harming teens need to be admitted or not.
You were having to go and assess?
Yeah, after working a full day. I used to have to be on call and roll in at 2 a.m. and decide, does this kid need to be admitted to the psych ward or not? And the hardest thing is I knew the psych ward wasn't therapeutic. It was safe. It was just about containment. But these kids need like therapeutic, healing, care, love, support.
Yeah. So completely separate to that, like emergency department stuff, I was going to say before, if anyone is interested, we do have that a double app on mental health first aid that is really useful, and it's Thelma and Louise if you're looking for the picture of it, and it gives you the steps for mental health first aid, which you touched on there, but it goes into it a bit deeper as well.
Yeah, the Thelma and Louise apps are beautiful. It's an amazing movie, but yeah, that was one I really wanted to put a lot of that into. Yeah, so I always wish that they'd kind of connected more, like just because we can see, like people love The Beautiful Boys are by far the most popular epic we've ever done, which is great. I'm really passionate about it, but I wish that like Equal First was like the mental health first aid ones, but and also very quickly like Lifeline, Kids Helpline.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
like, all of
No,
that stuff.
don't go
These
to
are
our
acute
listen
crises.
to a podcast first.
No, but that's about education. But in terms of safety, like that's, you've got to reach out and realise you should not be dealing with this on your own.
Okay. Hey, Billy, my mum would say, cross the bridge when you come to it. Is that good advice?
Do you know what? The reason I put it as it was in there is I think the person's Irish because they said
My
ma'am.
ma'am. Oh, no, but I was like, is that a typo?
Me mammy.
My mammy.
Me mammy.
My mammy.
So I just thought it's beautiful. Yeah, I understand that. I think that when we know that, like, what was it? How many people said that they wish they'd realised sooner? 80% of our poll listeners said we wish to realise sooner. We know how strong the evidence is of early intervention that comes in with actual therapeutic evidence-based strategies. I think it's not great to be like, oh, we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it if there's something that's worrying you. Yeah. So I think it's, I have to be a little bit, like, I'm really worried about my eldest starting school, but I need to be like, let's cross that bridge when we come to it, but also prepare her as much as possible with the bits that I think she needs support with.
Hey, Billy.
Longs.
No.
I promise I'll be tighter.
No, something else. Someone's worried about something. I think we can solve it immediately.
What is it?
Someone said they're worried that we are not coming to Perth on the National-ish live tour. Billy, what can we tell them?
We are coming to Perth. I can't wait to get to Perth.
That's
I
right.
think we've got a strong base in Perth, so it'll be amazing to be in Perth.
We are there, September 4.
And the GGM team's very keen to come to Perth too as well.
I think everyone's keen to go to Perth.
So
I think everyone thinks, where is it you sit? What's the Cottesloe Hotel? Is that where everyone sits and has drinks?
yeah,
in the cot?
it's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I've never been to Perth. I've flown to Perth and I went to a wedding down in Manjimup.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, down south is spectacular.
Well, yeah, we literally dropped in, shot down, came back, flew back. So I haven't spent time in Perth. Anyway, looking forward to it. Billy, we are on to the longs.
Yeah, I'll try and be tighter because I was very long on some of those shorts.
No, I was too. It was good to chat with you. Now I got some feedback that maybe printing out the instead of looking at our phone might help me read a bit better. Well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Page 1 wasn't much chop, and there's still a few more to come. So here we go. With such fair feedback. First to say, I don't get a lot of time. I didn't get a lot of time with these ones.
I finished them. To be fair, I think I pulled the pin at like midnight and I was like, I need to get some sleep. I got a big day. And then I think I shot them to you at like 7 a.m.
Could have shot them good anyway. Hey, Nick and Billy. Thank you for being my parenting North Stars and for validating and guiding me through the wild and wonderful journey. The topic came up at the most perfect time with the most perfect movie. I love Titanic. For context, I'm an early childhood teacher and a mum of 2 boys, 4.5 and 2, with a wonderful fiancé. They put the accent on the E, so I thought I'd hit it. Yeah, fiancé. My 4.5-year-old is a beautiful, bright kid, kind, fun, social, and when he feels safe and comfortable, he has lots of friends. And really enjoys connection in familiar environments. He's also slow to warm, a big feeler, and quite reactive. He's had some wild sensory sensitivities, clothing, loud noises, and when he's uncomfortable, he'll either shut down or make a loud screaming sound to signal he isn't ready to engage. At other times, when he's overwhelmed, he gets what I call the zoomies, fast, loud, and impulsive. Recently, I've noticed some regression. He started refusing swimming after years of being comfortable and won't participate in things like hearing or vision tests or group activities if they've been led by someone new that he doesn't know. I understand these behaviours are signs he's out of balance, but they can be hard socially. For example, at a recent birthday party at our local play centre, he struggled with turn taking, personal space, and had big reactions when play didn't go his way. I also notice he holds it together at preschool. Then he has big emotional releases at home. His teachers aren't concerned and feel his behaviour is typical. And I've spoken with an occupational therapist, so I do have tools that I am using. But lately, I'm questioning myself. I'm finding it hard to stay calm, doing more repair than I'd like, and feeling like I'm failing as a mother. Parenting can feel intense and exhausting, and I'm worried I'm not supporting him in the best way. I also feel unsure about assessment. I worry about being put in a box that doesn't fit. But I also don't want to miss something that could help him. My question is, how do we know when they're within range of a typical development of a sensitive child versus when to seek further assessment or support? And how do we best support the kids like this in social settings without pushing them beyond what they can handle? This feels big and heavy at the moment. I'd really value your thoughts.
What do you think?
I think you talked about a little bit earlier about when. Can't really remember.
Well, I think the things that struck me about that question and why I included it was this, like, I feel like I'm failing was one of the big ones. And like you're not failing, you're just in tune with what your kid's experience is, which is like probably the most important thing. If there's one message out of PCP, it's like when things aren't going well, it's not because we're failing. And what we want to try and do is just be in tune with what our kid's experience is, and it should be a positive one the majority of the time. And if this kid isn't experiencing that, then we want to figure out why. I think there's a beautiful identification of some of the sensory preferences and vulnerabilities this kid has. We all have them. It's not just autistic people that have like sensory seeking behaviours and sensory avoiding behaviours. And we should all probably be in better touch with like what are the things that help us when we're dysregulated that we can do individually. What are the things that help us socially and connecting to peers and loved ones, families and all those things? And what are the things we struggle with? And so I think that parent is just demonstrating that they're learning some of the vulnerabilities that exist for that kid, but also beautifully their preferences. I think there are two other things about that long question. One is that, early education settings are meant to be positive experiences, and the more likely they understand the strengths and preferences of kids, the better, and more likely that they'll succeed. Remembering that those kids need to feel safe before they can get anywhere near socially connecting to others. We spoke earlier about like parallel play and things we can do to try and scaffold social relationships developing. And in kids who might be neurodivergent or have certain specific preferences, then they can be real windows to deepening a relationship for kids to connect on. Like you and I have a lot of stuff that we don't connect on, do we? Like I don't connect on the sports stuff with you. I don't connect on all those things. Yep. But we find the things we connect on. It's movies, sense of humour, other relationships we have, our past experiences together. Kids don't have all that history, so we have to scaffold it for them. Do you know what I mean? Think about that with your kids.
Yeah.
Like you scaffold opportunities, and like early childcare education settings are really powerful. Someone recently like wrote in a complaint about my book and was like, the book's perfect, it's great. Pull out the stuff about early childhood education. Those are awful settings for kids. And while I understand that in some situations they actually, all of the evidence shows that across the board, they are positive experiences. And there's actually so much we can do to make them more positive. There's structural changes and what we call structural properties around them that are tough, which is the ratios, things like that. What's the actual physical space like? Is there enough involvement of environment, space for play, to explore, to take risk, to fall? What's the staff ratio like? But there's also all these process properties that we need to do better on, which is training, which we do through Guiding Growing Minds, which is helping educators understand how to support social relationships, how to meet the sensory needs of a kid, how to respond to behavioural difficulties. Like they're just not trained or supported in this stuff, educators across the board. So that's something that really matters around that. My final thing about this long goes back to what I said at the start, which is you drive what the assessment does, or more broadly, what going and seeing a professional in this space means and what the priorities are. And the moment I get to that point with families, I just say, how can I be the most helpful? So you come and see me with your daughter, I connect with you, get to know you, get to know the kid. The referral guides me a little bit, but I'm like, I don't say the referral says that your daughter might be autistic. Should we go through that process? I just go, how can I help you? A lot of families, unfortunately, they go, I'm actually not sure why I'm here. The educators told me to see the GP referred me to you, and I'm not sure why I'm here. And it's like, that sucks. You've waited so long for this appointment and you're not even sure why you're coming to see me. And so then I go, how's your kid going? Is there anything you're worried about? And sometimes they'll say no, and I'll go, how are they socially? How are they emotionally? How are they going and how they feel about themselves? What are they like in the family unit? How are they like at school? And often that's where the struggle comes out. And I'm like, cool, I think we might be able to help with that. Would that be something you want to do? And then so you can see how far away I think it's autism is. And I would never get anywhere near that until the parent says, hey, I want to figure out if my child has autism or not. So I think that anxiety is understandable, but we're trying to train the future workforce in a way that understands that the family leads. So they shouldn't feel anxious about, I don't want to go and see a professional for help because I'm worried. And you shouldn't be worried that you're a bad parent. You should be worried that your kid has needs that aren't being met. and I need professional support in figuring out what that is. And there's no risk that I'll fall into some trap of going down an assessment pathway process that I'm not ready for yet or don't think is the priority. Easy to say, but that's how we do it.
Okay, cool.
Hopefully helpful.
Very helpful. Hi, Nick and Billy. My husband and I have been listening to the back catalogue for a while now, and I'm exploring the resources on Patreon too. But I was quite excited to catch an ep as it dropped on a Monday.
It's when they're always meant to drop. Occasionally I miss it. I'll be like, whoops.
We relate to a lot of Billy and Annalise as we are both doctors here in the UK and navigating on-call, rosters, nights and weekends, rotas.
Rotas, yeah.
Sorry.
Just what you said, rosters, rotations on them.
Okay, cool.
Awful hours.
While we're juggling parenthood with my little family support nearby. That said, Nick reminds me a lot of my husband in the way that children gravitate towards his beautiful, playful nature. Personally, I have found the transition to motherhood extremely hard. My mum has significant mental health problems and was absent in many ways throughout my childhood, so I don't really feel like I have much of a template to go off. Up until now, I have used my once parenting tool of breastfeeding to manage most situations. Our beautiful boys are now 4.5 and 2, and I am grateful for you both and the pod as it constantly helps me to upskill our parenting as each new phase comes. Because of where we live, our eldest turned 4 and started school a week later. He is now about halfway through his first year of school. He is bright, confident, incredibly sociable. On several occasions, it has been raised to us that he does not respect people's personal space. It is too physically affectionate and does not always stop touching or hugging people when asked. School tell us that otherwise he's doing great and academically keeping up with children nearly a year older than him. At home, we are often riding the waves of dysregulation and holding space for his big feelings, as well as trying to support his high sensory needs. This worries me for 2 reasons. As a woman with her own experience and as a mother of 2 boys, I feel a huge pressure to teach them about consent and bodily autonomy. I also am incredibly aware that on both sides of our family we have diagnoses of ADHD, ASD and dyslexia, and often these run in families. I was a bright academic kid, so my parents struggled to get me support, and I was 18 and at a medical school before I was formally diagnosed with dyslexia. I've often felt I'm having to work much harder at life than those around me, and that is not something I want for my kids. So, to my question, lost amongst this oversharing, how do I know going forward what is the cause of concern and what is just a child who's being overstretched by a school system not designed for a child of his age? And how do I make sure I'm seeing my child for who they are and stop my own experiences for colouring my perspective? Thanks for all you're doing at the PCP and the GGM. I don't think you'll ever fully know the difference you are making.
So yeah, obviously relate very much on the personal level, and I think that's the hard thing is that like we're in this world now where like, you know, that's the hardest part of our life is that both Annalise and I are chasing our professional aspirations at the same time with no real support around, like, you know, no family. So I think, you know, it is true that 4 is quite young, and like in terms of being able to understand, we know developmentally that, you know, a 3-year-old doesn't really have much what we call theory of mind or ability to understand that someone else's experience is different to theirs. There's like simple ways that we do that where you have like, say something set up on the table and you can see something that I can't because it's being blocked. And a 3-year-old will think I can see exactly what you can see and not understand that I can't see, you know, the ice cream that's hidden by something. Whereas a 4 and a 5-year-old starts to learn, actually, you can't see that. And they can put themselves in another person's shoes, like literally, but also emotionally, and understand that. Social skill development is really important in the same way you always think about what you want them doing instead. So you don't want them not getting so close to people and being awkward.
Yes. Yep.
You want them learning to pick up cues from other kids that they might need to be responsive to.
How do you do it without embarrassing them or shaming them?
So you do it in the safest environment, in the safest relationships first, at home. You role model it. You do it like in an amazing Tina, use play, do it with the dolls, you know, Wonder Woman's getting a bit annoyed that the teddy bear is getting a little bit close. She really loves the teddy bear. She really loves playing with the teddy bear. But you can see how the teddy bear's kind of on top of her all the time. And what do you think that's like for her? What do you think she'd be doing with her face? Scrunching it up a bit, looking down a bit, tensing up a bit. What could teddy bear do? Did it help? Oh, just step back a bit. Cool. And see, look, now they're playing and having fun. Isn't that great? Doing it with each other. And also once again, what's going on for that kid is that they want intimacy and affection and making sure that they know how to do that in a healthy way that's socially appropriate with an educator, with another kid. It's one of the hardest things I found working in childcare for 6 years is that all these kids wanted to sit in my lap. They were all sitting in the lap of all the, women that worked there, but they couldn't be like that with me. And that was a hard thing for them to learn was that we can hug all the women that work here, but why can't we hug Billy and the guys that work here? So that these rules that we have to help guide them through gently and towards and understand what their developmental capacity is and think about that. And I think that especially when you have so much anxiety, there's a bigger thing that's going on that I'm going to stuff it up. It's this sign of this worrying thing. Then I think it's completely understandable to go I need more help with this. This is what's going on for me, and try and just watch the kid. But I struggle with this too on a personal level. I look and I'm how do I avoid my kid falling into the traps I fell into? Yep. Even though there's no sign that she's actually at any risk of that. Mm-hmm. But I need to check that myself. I need to not put work in on areas that she actually doesn't need help with. But it's just something I'm worried about. And being able to critically appraise that in myself and think about it and go, actually, that's a me thing is a really important skill set to have. So, yeah, I think, did I miss any parts of that question? I think so, yeah. But it's just a beautiful thing about practical application of you can be worried about that, giving them some leeway because they are very young and they don't have a lot of developmental perspective and deeper empathy, but thinking about how do I actually start giving them support and then being in scaffolded social opportunities with same age peers. You can't be at childcare. So getting one kid they feel comfortable around and watching them and helping them and supporting it, and then take them to the playground and then go and do stuff with them and just help them learn it. And that's what we're focusing on. What do I want them doing? Not what do I want to stop them doing? And how do I build that narrative and give them that intrinsic belief in themselves that they're good at being a good friend to other kids because of this stuff. Yep.
Dear Pop Culture Parenting Team, aka Dr. Billy and Nick, the legends bringing comforting parenting support, knowledge and skills to our ears. I'm reaching out as a parent who is feeling increasingly overwhelmed and unsure how to best support and advocate for my 5-year-old son. My son is a highly sensitive, beautiful boy. We have ruled many diagnoses. What he has is crippling anxiety, social developmental delay, and is intellectually gifted. He thrived during his prep year. However, since transitioning to year 1, he's become extremely unsettled, dysregulated at school. Frequently become overwhelmed to the point of kicking, screaming and attempting to run away from the classroom. School is putting significant effort into trying to keep him in class and encouraging him to complete work. However, his nervous system appears to be in a persistent threat response, and he's struggling to remain within a window of tolerance long enough to get through the school day. Oh, this person's articulate. A significant complicating factor is that he has been placed in a class with a child who bullied him last year and has caused considerable psychological distress. School had previously indicated that they would be placed in separate classes. However, this has not been possible this year. Whether the threat is perceived or real, simply seeing this child appears to activate a strong stress response in my son. When my son attempts to run from the classroom, it is important to note that he is not trying to leave the school grounds. He consistently runs to the classroom of an older student, an 11-year-old friend, who he has formed a strong connection with and who makes him feel safe. From my perspective as his parent, this behaviour appears to be less about avoidance and more about the nervous system seeking connection and co-regulation when he becomes overwhelmed. Unfortunately, this strategy is not supported by the school and he is required to remain in the classroom. As a result, I'm now receiving multiple calls per day asking me to collect him from the school because he is running away or unable to settle. Recently, the school described his behaviour as defiant. That word honestly broke me, truly broke me. Hearing a 5-year-old who is clearly dysregulated and overwhelmed framed in a way that felt incredibly disheartening. Professionally, I work as a mental health social worker and have dedicated my career to supporting people experiencing mental health difficulties and helping systems understand behaviour through a trauma-informed lens. Yet in this moment, despite all my training and knowledge, I feel defeated by a single word that frames my child's nervous system response as a willful non-compliance.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah. The expectation that a 5-year-old should consistently self-regulate and utilise their prefrontal cortex in a heightened state of distress feels unrealistic when many adults struggle to do that themselves. I feel caught in a system where the environmental stresses are occurring at school, yet the expectation is that the solution sits outside the school environment. We do have allied health professionals involved. However, the core trigger appears to be the school context itself, and this is where tensions lay between professionals. I have listened to every podcast episode and worked my way through your resources whilst enjoying the soothing tones of your voice as they impart ideas and knowledge. The episodes have been incredibly helpful in understanding emotional regulation, connection, and supporting children who may be struggling with certain skill deficits. However, I feel myself wondering about the space where giftedness and developmental vulnerability intersect. Much of the guidance, understandably, focuses on the supporting areas where children are behind developmentally. Yet, I am struggling to find guidance on how to nurture a child who is ahead in some domains while simultaneously delayed in others. My son appears to be navigating this tension between advanced cognitive capacity and a nervous system that is still developing the emotional regulation needed to cope with the demands of the environment around him. As a parent, I find this space particularly complex to navigate. My key question is, how do we work constructively within school systems to support a child whose nervous system is persistently activated by a school environment while also ensuring their needs are understood and supported? How do we encourage schools to use more sensitive language when talking about young people? Furthermore, how do we support a child who is both ahead and behind at the same time? Wow. I'm finding the situation increasingly distressing as a parent and worry about the longer-term impact on my son's sense of safety and learning at school. I'm open to guidance, resources, suggestions about how to navigate this in a way that supports my child and the school system that is part of it. Any advice, resources, or direction would be incredibly appreciated. Thank you for the work you do in creating resources that have been already helped so many families. P.S. I am one of the lucky ones who managed tickets for your live show. Can't wait to enjoy some much-needed laughter and continue the conversation supporting parents and children to thrive.
Bang. Well read.
That was actually really well read, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
I think when I get into character...
Well, yeah, speaking of that. But
don't think people need to hear this.
But this was, so this is a really good one. The reason it's been included is because of just how articulate it is, but also the depth of the story. We're hearing about a young boy who, let's call a spade, has been traumatised. He's experienced trauma and bullying.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep, sure.
Yeah. And he's potentially still experiencing it because he's still in that environment with that kid. Now, I'm not having a go at the kid, and I'm not even having a go at the teachers. It's the system that's broken. There is really strong evidence about how to prevent bullying and how to respond when it happens. People might know restorative practice. Like, restorative practice is all about acknowledging what has happened and figuring out what needs to happen to fix it. That needs to happen with this relationship with both these boys, with this broader school community, and understanding, like, this is going on. We've got a kid in our community, in our system, who does not feel safe. And we need to figure out how to make him feel safe, because otherwise there might be another kid in a month, in a year, whatever, who also feels unsafe and falls through that crack that exists in our school system. Once again, it's not the educator's faults. This kid is doing something that is very advanced emotionally. He's help-seeking. He's going and finding the older kid. That's amazing. You know what I mean? Like that's actually a really quite highly developed thing that a lot of us can't do. Which is he's realising he's distressed and he's going and finding a safe relationship. The key is, ideally, find a safe relationship with the classroom teacher or someone who is in closer proximity. That means he can stay in the environment. Drop the expectation that he's going to participate in class that's ages away until he feels safe. Safety is what matters to this kid. The only reason I agree with shorter hours is because that's how a kid builds up their capacity to feel safe. It can't be because this is the only amount of time we can tolerate this kid for. That's often why it happens.
Yeah.
But I'll support reduced hours if it's like this kid is so cognitively fatigued by half a day. We want it to be a successful experience for him so that he does feel safe. So we're starting on half days. And we will build up from there as he continues to succeed, build his capacity to be in this window successfully and do those things. This is not a kid that I'm actually worried about, to be honest. I think that this is a kid who's got a parent, and it sounds like other professionals they're supporting that are highly, understand deeply that this kid's nervous system is dysregulated. Because of that, he's, running and trying to get out of the environment he doesn't feel safe in, but he's actually seeking another. So there just needs to be a healthier transition to another that he seeks. It's not an older boy in the class. Transition to that, figure out why he needs to be safe, restore what's happened, repair it, build the capacity and understanding that school, like a lot of schools, there's a hole there. That's happened. That other kid who bullied needs support as well.
Yeah.
Like that's a kid that needs help. It's not a bad kid. There are no bad kids. So I think that's why I think that's such a beautiful articulation of like, how can we help all those kids that are like that?
Yep. Hi, Dr. Billy and Dr. Nick. OG listener for the first time writer. Sorry, I stuffed up your line. OG listener, first time writer. Love it. Thank you for the podcast. It has helped me more than words can describe in my role as a high school teacher. I'm healing my own upbringing and in the most important role as a single parent to an amazing 14-year-old girl. The timing of this episode hit me like a metaphorical iceberg, but I also think one may be coming our way. My girl thrived all through primary. Bright, emotionally and socially mature, confident, well-liked, resilient, and always willing to try hard things. When high school rolled around, I knew it might be tough, but couldn't have imagined it would be like this. It was a pretty good start, but bouncing around in advanced programs and a self-inflicted pressure to achieve academically mixed with her struggle to form deep friendships. She has a few deep friendships outside of school and plenty of people and groups that she hangs with at school, but none she describes as her people. She also experiences anxiety due to running out of time to achieve everything she wanted. This was a time of roller coaster emotion, and luckily through it all, our communication was and is really good, and we sought support from a psychologist. The psych helped ease the anxiety, but now she's left feeling stuck. Most worryingly, a lot of down days, I'm willing to keep seeing the psych or even try and work towards goals. And now I fear the start of some school refusal. She's pushing through it now, but is convinced a fresh start at a new school is the answer. I'm not anti-moving school in general, but she is at the best local school in the area, and we are both opposed to the private system. It kills me to see the light of my superstar fade and the genuine tears and anguish about not achieving success. I want nothing more for her to have the best high school experience and for her to achieve her desire of academic success, but it doesn't seem to matter how much reassuring I provide about easing the pressure of achievement. Anything under top marks from her perspective isn't good enough for her, but at the same time, she can't seem to maintain good study habits because of her low mood. As someone that achieved their own academic and career success later in life, I was a bit naughty in high school, I constantly remind her there is more than one pathway to achieve success. As a late diagnosed woman with ADHD, I have read how ADHD reflects differently in girls, and I'm worrying that if it might be signs of that. But also, as a high school teacher at a massive, underfunded outer suburb high school, I see gigantic icebergs everywhere and the carnage of their wake. In comparison, this seems small because she is smart, has friends, great family support, plays sport, goes on holidays, etc., etc. But I know these feelings and this experience is huge for her. I don't want to minimise it and say, oh, but look how big their icebergs are over there. But I also don't want to turn into something huge either. So my question is this. I've lowered the demand on her externally, but how do I support her to lower the internal demand? If I can't get her to the psych, is medication the next step? Is this even a potential iceberg or normal teenage stress? I feel like the person running around on the deck yelling, iceberg, iceberg, whilst everyone else looks at me weird. But I'm really desperate not to sink the ship. Any advice would be massively appreciated.
Yeah, so see, that is an iceberg, and that's not over worrying, and you're in tune and right to say, like, I don't want to minimise it by saying there's other kids that have it harder, but that is a kid that I'm worried about. With a parent that's amazing as that, who's shutting down.
Why?
Well, because perfectionism and, you know, her identity is tied to this idea that she has to do well in school, and that will make her good enough.
Yep.
And that needs to not be true. Now, the parent's trying really hard, telling her own story. I figured it out later in life. I was naughty at school. But that's, at the moment, not enough. So this kid needs to feel like they're enough just as they are, and understanding that that's the turmoil. There's an inner turmoil of a low mood and a flat affect and, like, struggling mentally.
What do? Do you point at stuff that they're good at?
I understand why you're saying that, but if that works, that's great. But we're trying to make them feel a certain way about themselves.
Yeah.
And often it's not
How do you
about
do it?
It's by how we are with them.
Okay.
So just being with them and showing them they're enough. You know, like
give me an example.
I do that with my kids. I try not to make sure that I'm like, when Evie cleans the room, that's not the most excited I am to be with her. You know, that I'm not, you know, having my biggest moments of joy around them succeeding. Like, think about that. Think about that with, like, your kids. Like, how often do you really put a lot of energy into just enjoying them when they're just being themselves, not when they're nailing something?
What's easier? To do it the other way?
Yeah.
So I don't. I mean, I do. I try because of this, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's not automatic.
Yeah, so this kid probably, I understand, and the pep talks might be really helpful, but often the pep talks are not the full solution to this, and it's just, how am I with this kid? How much do I just enjoy them? How much do they just enjoy being themselves? And really small steps towards that when the kids are really shut down. And that's why I often talk about, like, just getting in the room and learning what they're doing when they're locked in the room on themselves and trying to find a window of opportunity to go towards them, you know, and seeing what that is. But just, I often ask families in clinic, when was the last time you enjoyed your teenager or a younger kid? And often the answer is months to years. And this parent really cares about this girl. You can hear it, you can feel it. But just thinking about she's not adding to the pressure, but to undo the pressure, you need to work really hard to be like, what is this kid's experience when there's no pressure and me just enjoying them for who they are? And there's a whole bit about role modelling failure and how to normalise it and all that stuff. But I think that the thing that really cuts through for me with this family is just, how does this kid feel about themselves? Because I suspect that they're quite insecure about themselves. And how do we build that back up? That has nothing to do with succeeding academically. The problem is there's a strength in them. So we can't get anywhere near, like, this idea of these questions about gifted kids. We can't get anywhere near giftedness if kids don't feel safe, like the previous one, or if their ability to succeed academically comes at the cost of being completely emotionally overwhelmed and thinking their whole identity is tied to that. That's a huge problem we have at the moment.
You're better off putting in the effort when they're up and about as opposed to, like, when they're flat. Because I think, to your point, when they're flat, you can't pump them up too much. You just got to, like, connect with them and make them feel safe. Is that right?
Yeah, and you've also got to give them the right to feel flat.
Yeah, but you can't celebrate them, to your point. So if you're trying to find moments to celebrate them, so the real thing that's going to pump them up is, like, I'm making this up. Your kid does a language at school. I'm making this up.
Yeah.
Not thought out.
But no, keep going with it, yeah.
You go to the restaurant, the language she can speak, and you go, can we please go to the Indonesian restaurant? Can you please order an Indonesian? I love when you do that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I'll shout, my shout, of course, you shout at the parent. Is that the sort of thing? And you go,
definitely.
Oh,
I think
God,
that's a
I love
beautiful, like,
watching
strengths-based, definitely. But what I'm also talking about is there's no performance in it. There's I'm just enjoying the kid.
Okay, you got to tell me this one a bit. You got to be clear on this one.
So
How do you
when-
just enjoy it?
So you go home tonight.
Yep.
You're probably a bit exhausted of spending the day with me. Like, how do your girls?
I'll throw
know?
the netball with them. We're practicing bounce passes at the moment.
Yeah, but it's also
Individual.
just how you are with them. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not this task.
Okay. That's
Like-
not always easy. So what do you do? Like, hey,
Mate,
how
you do it with
going?
me.
How you going?
You do it with me. I walked in here. You didn't ask me to do something to make me feel good about it. You were just excited to see me, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we need to be more overt with our kids about that.
Just
Because
be
I think a lot of the
excited to see
time
them.
we're like, but also just be with them and just enjoy them. It's not about we're getting better at riding the bike. Yeah. You're getting so good at being better with your sister that there's no performative component of it. It's just, hey, and letting kids lead. Like, you know this now. Like, what do they want to do?
Yeah.
And what are they actually doing, and how do I actually go to what they're doing instead of, I think the restaurant's a great idea, but what's my kid actually doing? Can I come into their world?
Yeah.
And just connect with them, enjoy them, and not be like, far out, you're so good at this, but just be like, this is fun doing this with you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think that's where a lot of us fall down that are really working hard with our kids of like, when do we just actually enjoy them? And there's no like, we're getting better at something, we're working on something.
No skill acquisition, just enjoyment together.
Yeah, just enjoying, just bonding. Joy, fun, play, bonding.
Yeah.
It's just all of us wish we'd had that more with a parent, growing up.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Got it. Hi, Dr. Billy and Nick. I'm a long-time listener and frequent writer, many draft emails, but excited with my first send. I first started listening to your podcast as a committed husband, teacher, and hopeful father, and now listen as I navigate the adventure of parenting a 9-month-old beautiful baby boy. I've always appreciated the honesty and guidance both of you impart and carry your lessons with me every day at home with my family and in my work as a primary school assistant principal and classroom teacher. I take every opportunity to share your book and podcast with my family and staff. With families and stuff. I honestly can't thank you enough for giving so much of yourselves to bettering our community for the future of the little ones. As an educator who cares deeply about the children in my care, it can be challenging to express worry or concerns of child's development in a way which considers parents' readiness and openness to such a challenging topic, which while still keeping the child's needs at the forefront. So my question, when to worry, I recognise this is a journey. I recognise that this is a journey we must support parents through, but would appreciate any advice and ideas in regard to how do we best open and persist with these challenging conversations in regard to worries we have about a child's development with parents who have not received this news well or may not be ready to worry. My deepest thanks, a learning and growing dad, husband and educator.
So we had a lot of questions about this, which is why I included this one. So I sit in clinic with a lot of these families that are like, maybe not, this is not conflict, but say families that are in conflict with schools. And I say, you need to go to the school and say, how can I help? And I say the same to the educators, say to the parent, how can I help? Because everyone cares about the same thing. A lot of parents, it's quite hard to hear that their kid's not doing well or that they're struggling. And so the actual relationship comes first. Mm-hmm. And I think that I've been speaking about this a bit lately because I've been thinking about it in the context of the hospital I work at. That hospital is not mine. It's not the hospital administrator's place. It's actually yours. It's the public's hospital, isn't it? Now, I get paid well to sit in that, to deliver a service that hopefully helps the public. Schools are the same. Like, schools need to be seen as the public space. You should, with your school, I know you really like your school, but you should have pride and you should feel like you have ownership of it. That physical space is yours, not the schools that you conditionally allowed to go in and do certain times and all that kind of stuff. It's got to be seen as your space. And that's actually how you start building protective, proactive relationships with parents so that the tough conversation can happen. A lot of parents that I meet in clinic who might come from really traumatic backgrounds have a really negative association. The school calls, my kid's in trouble, I'm going to argue and fight for them. Or like teachers saying something's wrong with my kid, I'm going to bury that. They're wrong. What do they know? Whatever. And evoking all those emotions is understandable. But trying to think about How do we try and connect with these parents first, and every single parent proactively, so that in case the tough conversation comes, and then you get to the point where you can check in and say, hey, how do you think Nick's going? And they go, he's fine. You go, yeah, there's so many great things about him. We are worried that like things should be better for him here. You know, we know him, we love him, we adore him, we think he's great. He should have richer friendships. He should be doing better academically. This should be more of a positive experience for him. He's shutting down, he's acting out, whatever it is, that should be better. We want to help with that, and we want to help figure out what's going on. How are things at home? What do you think we could be doing that would be better? You know, that's how you open that up, instead of, I'm not saying I'm just taking to the extreme, it's not what this teacher be doing, but saying there's something wrong with Nick, you need to go and see a specialist and sort it out. That's, you know, that's the extreme other end. So we want to avoid that as much as possible, the confrontational, I'm the professional, I'm standing over you, I know what I'm talking about, you don't, and just start with connection. But this is the hard thing, and like the best mental health wellbeing people I've ever met in schools have taught me this. All of their work happens helping parents park cars in car parks at drop-off. Because they sit in an office and say, hey, open door policy, come and knock on the door, any worries you have. No one comes and knocks on that door. If they do, it's the 11th hour. But if you're getting to know someone and building in their capacity, on Wednesdays you do that? I remember that parent says every Wednesday they do this. No, it's Wednesday. Hey, enjoy that today. You start forming a connection with them, and then they might be like, hey, yeah, my marriage is falling apart. It's the first person they've told.
Yeah.
Or I'm worried this is going on. Like, we need to earn this trust. And I think we just assume, well, I'm the teacher or I'm the parent, the school should do this. Like, those are humans. The educators are being underpaid, overstrained, not supported enough. Like, connect with the person first. One of the best predictors of we're at an amazing preschool now for Evie. And yeah, there's a staff member that's been there 17 years. It's one of the best predictors of what those education environments are like, is how long they stay, because that's a good place for that person. And it makes me love it even more, because a great educator has stayed there because that place is good to her. And then that place needs to be good to the public and to the families and to the kids and to everyone that comes in. So yeah, we've really got to shift and think about our spaces differently, but also our proactive relationships. So I hope that person's operating at a very high level. So I hope that answer actually helps them.
Yep. I like that idea of the schools where we go, it's not owned or...
Yeah, do you know the best, I'm taking way too long on this, but one of the best community health centres I've ever visited was probably about 10 years ago, and it was down in Tasmania, and Tasmanians will know of these places, and they set up these family community health centres, and some of them were purpose-built, some of them were refurbed, and this woman showed me around one, like the person who runs it, the practice manager, was like, I was coming and they were like, oh, Billy, I'm not going to give you a tour. This person is. And it was this probably woman in her 70s. And she had so much pride showing me around, where she's like, and this is where the clinicians come. We let them have this room to do their maternal child health, to do the hearing checks, which is how it should be. Do you know what I mean? We let them use this room to do that for our kids in our community that we care about. She showed me around. This is where we do meals. She even taught me. She's like, see how the moment you walk in, you can see everything? That's so everyone feels safe when they walk through these doors, and everyone that's in this space can see everywhere. So they know there's no harm. There's nothing they don't know that's going on and all this stuff. She showed me around beautifully. She's really proud about it. She leaves and I'm walking to my car, and the person who runs the place comes out and he goes, do you know that woman, the first time she ever came to this building was when she was a young mum doing supervised visits with her kids. This was the only place she was allowed to see her own children. And this is the first time she's ever had a paid job, is working here. What a beautiful journey that physical building has gone through, just with that woman, that now she walks around and is proud of how it serves her community. And that's hospitals, that's schools, that's the local footy club. This hierarchical ownership of it is awful, but it's also harming all of us. These are our last sanctuaries of saying this is a hospital that is everyone's, that heals all of us physically and mentally. Administrators don't own it. They treat staff terribly. They treat the public as if they should be thankful that they got an appointment 3 years later. Schools are becoming this place that you should see I won't get into it, but the data on school attendance is terrifying, how much it's plummeting, because it's just not a sense of belonging anymore. They're not a safe environments, and it's the same for educators. Educators are leaving in droves, so it's a worry. But that's how. Make them safer spaces that are owned by all of us, that then the proactive relationships are built within them.
Thank you, Dr. Billy. Question 6. Hi, Billy and Nick. Thank you so much for what you guys are doing. Listening to you has definitely made me a better dad. I recommend the podcast to every parent I meet. The When to Worry episode feels really timely for me. My 6-year-old son has always struggled with separation anxiety at daycare all the way through to starting prep last year. Our school's amazing, and we've come up with a strategy that is really successful. One of the teachers would take him to play board games for 15 minutes or so before school starts. He loves board games. It was also working until a few weeks ago, when things have fallen apart catastrophically. A few weeks ago, my son got suspended for lashing out at a teacher. Ever since, all our attempts to return to school have resulted in complete dysregulation after an hour or so, despite so much support from the amazing school. We've had to take him home within a few hours every day for the last few weeks. We don't really understand what's happened, what's going on, but I can't help but worry that separation anxiety was a sign of something bigger that maybe we've missed, something that we could have intervened on earlier and prevented the challenges we're now facing. Have we left things too late? It all now feels unfixable. I would love your advice. It feels like we're in a really deep hole.
Nothing's unfixable. Nothing. I've never met any scenario that a kid's in that is unfixable. So that's really important. There's been a fracturing there. This kid, before that happened, didn't feel safe in that environment. Not anyone's fault. Didn't feel safe. And then something's happened. They've lashed out emotionally. They've become dysregulated. They've lost control. And then there's been a punishment, really. Like, that's a worry. That doesn't sound like a consequence. That sounds like a punishment. And what I would do is I would repair that. And I would say, we are so sorry, all of us, that this has happened. We want you back playing the board game. We want you back here. And it's, we want you here. We want you feeling safe. We want all of us feeling safe. And we as the adults will hold responsibility for that. We will think about how we can make it more safe. We'll think about how we can catch it sooner when this kid's not feeling safe.
The kid's not feeling safe.
No, he wasn't feeling safe before that. If the kid needs a board game and everything just to be in the environment, that's a lot of resource that's going into a kid. Every single kid should be walking through school gates going, this is going to be a great day for me. I feel safe here. I feel a sense of belonging. I feel celebrated for who I am. Every single kid should walk through school gates feeling like that. And every single kid should be like that other kid that we heard about and go to seek out someone when they're distressed. It shouldn't be an 11-year-old boy. It should be an adult. They should have a champion. Every single kid, I'm stealing that off Berry Street education model, every single kid needs to have a champion at school. And you practically know who that is. Yep. Both your girls should know. You should be able to say to your girls, if you're having a tough time, if you're scared, if someone's annoying you, if something's upsetting you, who do you go to? And they need to go bang, that person. They don't need to think about it. They need to have that. And there'll be often one of our kids that we're not worried about, where we're just like, I'm not worried about that kid. That kid will be fine. But you're leaving a gap then. You're removing a safety net that they could have underneath them just in case one day they have that. And so that's what I would say to that one.
Yep.
Yeah, that is, and it's not the fault, once again, of the teachers, but I would repair that for the kid. Take the adult responsibility of what has happened. We weren't meeting your needs. We had something that we thought was helping, but it clearly wasn't, because even with that support of playing the board game and stuff, you still became dysregulated and became unsafe. How do we connect and make you feel safe here again through connection?
It's tough watching a kid feel unsafe.
Yeah. And as I've said before, someone needs to be able to stay in that space with them and not say it's okay that you're pulled a knife. It's okay that you've thrown a glass through a chair. It's okay that you've hit another kid and are threatening to hit more and hurt them. But I'm okay because I'm an adult and I can be calm. And there will be boundaries and there'll be consequences, but I'm calm. And I want you to catch that. And I don't want you to do it because I want you to stop. I want you to do it because I want you to be calm too, and I want you to feel safe. And I cut my teeth with those kids in one of the most disadvantaged parts of where I grew up, running a 60 childcare program with all the kids that got kicked out of everywhere else. I cut my teeth with the violent, aggressive kids, and I learned how to hold that space with them. And now I can do it in a clinic room. Now I can do it, I can do that because it's a thing you practice and you learn how to do and you learn how to hold. You learn how to be in a space with someone that's dysregulated. It's a bit like holding kids. You can restrain a kid to hurt them and to give them away their freedom, but you can also compassionately, respectfully hold a kid to keep them safe. And educators have had that taken away from them, the ability to do that safely. But if one of your girls is upset and going to run out on a road, you'd want the educator to hold them, wouldn't you?
100%.
Yeah. So, we shouldn't wait until the kid's about to run on the road. And we need, from a mental health first aid, to give kids who are aggressive space. We need to use little language, calm tones, nothing negative. I'm here. I'm sorry you're feeling like this. This looks really hard. I want to help. We give them some freedom to move and express themselves emotionally. But if they're going to hurt themselves or someone else, we've got to be able to hold them respectfully, compassionately, safely. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I've made this one way bigger than it was meant to be.
Last
be
question.
a quick one.
Last question. Hello, Billy and Nick. Should we be worried for our 6-year-old son? He has a diagnosis of ADHD and has been receiving early intervention support through NDIS, including occupational therapy, speech therapy, and structured social supports. Over the past few years, we've seen really meaningful progress, particularly in the communication, confidence, and ability to engage socially at school. His school still identifies that he has some ongoing challenges, particularly with focus, staying on task, and consistent engagement in structured learning. But overall, he's progressing and participating with support. We've recently been advised that he may lose access to NDIS early intervention funding due to him reaching 6 years of age. Even though the early intervention program is until 9 years old, despite the progress he's made. Upon a brief review and what seemed to be a self-assessment diagnosis, us completing a questionnaire of our son's behaviour characteristics, our paediatrician has recommended considering stimulant medication. Up until now, we've held off on that path because we've felt that the combination of therapies, school support and environment has been helping him develop and grow in a really positive way. Our question is, if early intervention supports are reduced or removed, should we be concerned about his long-term development? And does that shift the balance towards starting medication earlier? Is the medication our life raft on the Titanic, or do we need to think we'll be lucky and avoid the iceberg? We're trying to make the best long-term decision for him, not just what works short-term. Appreciate any thoughts you have. If you've got this far, thanks for reading. Concerned, maybe worried, developing dad.
So very quickly, one of the most satisfying things that we do in clinic is prescribe stimulant medications for kids who accurately have a diagnosis of ADHD. 80% of children with ADHD will benefit from stimulant medication.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everyone who experiences it, well, almost everyone who uses it is like far out. I didn't realise how hard life was until I started this medication. So it needs to be done carefully, properly, never in the first appointment, all these rules that like safe practice. But yeah, often these kids will benefit from that. So I think being more open about that. There was a question that I didn't answer about the girl who's really struggling in medication. Medication for anxiety and depression only really has evidence when it's used in conjunction with therapy, active, effective, evidence-based therapy. Like a lot of the medications don't really help much for anxiety and depression outside of that if it's just used on its own, which is hard because it'd be so much easier for me to just write an antidepressant script for kids that are low. There's not really solid evidence for them on their own, whereas stimulant medication is quite effective because it just builds the capacity. A lot of the teenagers will say like it lifts a fog in their mind. It just takes the stress out. They're able to kind of be better organised, not be so impulsive and stuff like that. The other thing is, like, this is hard to say, but the podcast is trying to actually do this, is you can build your understanding of how to support kids using evidence-based information outside of one-on-one therapy. Like, therapy is very expensive. Like, NDIS is a system in Australia, for overseas listeners, is our big national It's an insurance scheme because it says that if we spend $1 now on a kid, we'll save $2 when they're an adult. I'm simplifying that. But it's very expensive. It's more expensive than our health system at the moment. So we're trying to figure out how to make it better, more efficient, still meet the needs of all the kids and support those who need help, which is a lot of kids. But I think learning about that, one of the best resources very quickly for learning about ADHD and how to support kids with executive function difficulties, which is cognitive flexibility, impulse control and working memory, is where I work. There's a similar group in Harvard called the Harvard Center for the Developing Child. And if you look at them up and check out executive function, you'll get a lot of really high-level psychoeducation that's practically translated into how you help kids in those 3 domains. So we also have our episodes on Finding Nemo. So
Finding
go
Nemo.
back and check that out.
Probably the best episode I reckon you did in the first 50.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Just in my mind, I just think that
Yeah, we did a lot of trying to be practical in that stuff. That was really clinically focused.
One I remember.
But intentionally didn't take kids with ADHD, kids who struggle to focus.
Yeah, I remember.
Cool. Bang.
Hey, Billy, reflections and advice.
There's 3. You do 1, I do 1, you do 1.
Cool. Yes. Hi, Dr. Billy and Dr. Nick. Wait till you come to the live show, people. Let me do it. Long-time listeners, second time writing in. I just want to start by saying how much I truly adore your podcast and the both of you. The wisdom, reassurance, perspective you impart each episode is truly invaluable, and I'm so incredibly excited to see you live in a few short weeks. I was especially drawn to episode 126, When to Worry in Titanic, because it hit so close to home. A little girl was diagnosed with gross motor development delay, and listening to the episode brought me back to the beginning of our journey. I first felt that quiet nagging worry when she was around 8 months old. I remember holding her on my lap, trying to stand her up and noticing she just couldn't. She was unable to put weight through her legs at all, and something didn't feel right, even though everything up until then had seemed normal, as she had ticked off the early milestones. Lifting her head, rolling, sitting unassisted. It wasn't until her legs were meant to take over that things changed. Hearing her explain the gross motor development works from the head down made so much sense, because that's exactly why we didn't recognise it. I booked an appointment at CAFHS.
Child and Family Health Services. Sorry, I'm not reading it.
Well done.
Yeah.
Jeez, you're good, aren't you? Hoping for reassurance, but instead left feeling dismissed. I was told some babies are just weaker and they'll get there eventually, but I couldn't shake the gut feeling. She wasn't my first baby, and being an RN myself,
Registered nurse.
I knew deep down that something wasn't right. Thankfully, our GP listened. They validated those worries and referred me to a paediatrician, but the wait was agonising. Living rurally, 6 hours from the nearest capital city made everything harder. Services felt so far away, both literally and emotionally. And while we waited, the gap grew. By 18 months, she still couldn't bear, even with support. Watching her other children her age running, climbing, exploring the world so freely, while she couldn't even stand, was heartbreaking. When we eventually saw the paediatrician, it was a turning point. He was incredible, referring us to a physio, OT, orthotist, and further testing, bloods, MRI. But that period was one of the hardest in our lives, handing a baby over to a general anaesthetic in order to undergo an MRI for their brain and spine is something no parent is ever prepared for. Oh, God. In the middle of all this, I was spiralling, blaming myself, wondering if I'd missed something, if I should have pushed harder sooner, if I'd failed somehow. When the results of the bloods and the MRI came back, there was a relief, but also strange, heavy confusion, because suddenly there was no clear why. And no one really understood what your child is facing. The frustration lingered too, thinking back to that first appointment, wondering if things might look different now, if my concern had been taken more seriously from the start. From there, our weeks became structured around therapy. Weekly 2-hour round trips to physio became our new normal, Watching our daughter work so incredibly hard just to do things that other children didn't even think about was both inspiring and heartbreaking all at the same time. God, that'd be hard. We were and still are so lucky to have the most incredible team of allied health professionals, OT to rule out sensory barriers, AFOs, custom made and fitted.
Ankle foot orthoses. So, like you see, they support ankle.
Goodness. Okay. It helps support her legs. Every small gain felt enormous. Every tiny milestone was hard won and deeply celebrated. But it was also emotionally exhausting, carrying that constant weight of worry while trying to stay strong for her, wondering if she would ever catch up or even be able to walk at all. As far as diagnosis went, benign congenital hypotonia. Hypotonia.
It's a bit unfair. I'm just putting that there because often people will be like, what was
their diagnosis? Yeah, that's right. Was what it was put down to. Today, she's a firecracker, 2-year-old. In just 9 months, she's gone from not being able to stand at all to using a walking frame. At 23 months, she took her first independent steps we once weren't sure would come. If I could say anything to other parents, it would be this: trust your gut. That quiet voice inside matters, and no one knows your child the way you do. And if you spot even the smallest tip of the iceberg, keep speaking up, keep pushing, keep advocating until someone listens, because sometimes that persistence is what helps steer your child's ship to safer waters. Thank you for the incredible community you've built through the podcast. I'm so grateful you took the time to read this among the many messages you receive. What you do truly matters.
Well done, mate. Should see some of the ones I kept out.
Tough one.
There's one that I'm going to show you because we're going to meet them at a live that's coming up that is just phenomenal. Like, the team was crying about it. Okay. Hi, Dr. Billy and Dr. Nick. You asked for people to share their experience of hitting icebergs. I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I thought I'd share our story. My beautiful daughter was doing okay through her preschool years with a bit of COVID wobble and settled well into primary school. Parenting wasn't easy, but we're delighted in watching her grow. Over time, though, I started to feel concerned. She was having regular and major tantrums, particularly after school. I did what most parents do. They worry and turn to books, friends and the internet. It seemed the advice was tantrums are normal until about the age of 6, but she turned 6 and these are still happening. They started to be accompanied with some really negative self-talk, including saying she wished she wasn't alive. I definitely felt I was in icy waters, so I spoke to her teacher. She suggested my daughter was a sensitive child and that she wasn't seeing those behaviours in the school environment. So we rolled on, trying our best to support her, reading the books, talking to friends. My amazing friend, who is a special education needs educator, started talking to me about potential signs of autism in girls and how masking at school shows up. She also introduced me to PCP through the Blade Runner episode on neurodiversity. I blitzed the back catalogue and tried to implement various strategies, but nothing we were doing seemed to stop the extreme behaviours from coming. And then we hit the iceberg. My daughter started a new school year. Within a couple of weeks, she came home one day in a meltdown. She went into the kitchen to get a knife and said she was going to kill herself. Since then, it's often felt like we were all sinking on the Titanic. But the help services have wrapped around us. She has had amazing clinical support from Children's Mental Health Services. The special education needs lead at the school has been wonderful and worked with their current teacher to wrap around her. We listened to Dr. Billy's advice and reduced the pressure and increased the support. We've not safely made it to the shore yet, and this may well be a lifelong mental health journey. But the reason I wanted to share with the PCP community is because under the diagnosis of autistic girls is very real. And our experience of the first teacher minimising our concerns is sadly too common. So I would advise parents to trust your gut, do your research, and don't be afraid of getting a second opinion. If only one PCPer avoids hitting this potential iceberg from hearing our story, then it was absolutely worth me writing in. Thanks for being in my ears throughout all of this. Bring on the PCP World Tour. Sorry, mate, you've got the last one as well. Far out. It's crazy because I've read them so many times and they still get me. Sorry. I feel bad that I gave it the last one now.
That's all right. I haven't read it. I hope it's not.
It doesn't help if you read it.
Okay. Hey, legends. My husband got me onto your podcast 9 months ago and I was hooked. A complete sponge of your insights, knowledge and community stories really helped me to rethink my life on the daily. My Winslow. A lot of things spoken about I was already doing. I just hadn't thought that deeply about it or given it a name. My 5-year-old orchid and nearly 2-year-old dandelion boys keep me on my toes for sure. So a few twice and thrice listens have been on the cards for some eps. Conflict resolution. What a banger. I think we've made it, Billy. That's the line. A banger. Yeah, I feel like I'm back in 2000. Jeez.
Is it a banger?
Is it a banger? God, it's the best compliment we've ever received. Tune. Okay. All right, took me back. Your last topic on when to worry hit hard. My 5-year-old recently started prep. Shout out to your school preparation episode. I was looking for icebergs everywhere. Socially, shyness, manual dexterity, school refusal, bullying. I felt like I was scanning the water and ready for it all when I was hit by a seagull. Something I hadn't considered. Toilet regression. Our gorgeous boy was having several accidents daily at school, and then within a month it turned into number 2 accidents. School were incredible and would shower and clean him. The hardest part of it all was he wanted to go back to class. He was loving school and didn't want to miss out on anything, so was having accidents. Right, okay. He had changes of clothes in his bag, but he would end up getting it everywhere trying to clean himself up. So he had to come home. He'd also picked up a sensory distress relief action where he needed to touch surfaces with the front and back of his palm, mostly the floor or us, which was fine at home but became unsafe crossing roads where he would stop to touch the ground. I knew I was putting too much pressure on the toileting, as the more I asked him to, if he needed to go, or let's go try, or I can see you're uncomfortable, he would flat out refuse and then have an accident and blame me or just not care. Shout out to the Motivation Reflection app. Some great advice in there when you just aren't motivated to go. Luckily, I had you both in my ear. So, step 1, I checked in with myself and acknowledged I was frustrated and wanted him to get it. I wasn't at all worried about the sensory seeking, but when it wasn't safe on the roads. Yeah, except when it's safe on the roads. Step 2, spoke to the teachers about needing a little extra support and maybe a secret signal to get to the bottom of his FOMO. Step 3, book an appointment with a GP to check he didn't have a UTI. He definitely isn't constipated. He does 3 poos a day, so lots of opportunity. Step 4, I took the pressure off and stopped asking him if he needed to go. If he had an accident, we deal with it calmly and try and make it funny. The toilet was sad. He didn't get his dinner. Gross, I know. So next time, let's make sure we feed the toilet. That's awesome. I got him and his 2 best mates excited about the wee wall at school. When a certain amount of liquid is in the urinal, it flushes and they get so excited and dance around. Now all the prep boys love the wee wall. We're almost at the end of term 1 and our gorgeous boy is loving school. The sensory seeking has pretty much completely stopped and we haven't had a number 2 accident since seeing the GP and getting the teachers help to give him more support. Shout out to the incredible educators and GP. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful humans making a difference every day. He's still having a few wee accidents at friends' houses or at the end of the day when he's tired, but I'm so proud we don't, I'm proud we don't shame him or even react, as I can see the most important part is him wanting to go to school. Not the academics, not the awards, not the accidents, just the joy of being part of the community and wanting to be there as a foundation. The rest will come. We'll see you at the Melbourne live show. My Christmas present. Hopefully my husband has dinner out planned too. Oh, he's not going to get this till after. Thank you for everything and your families do. This fan will be listening and recommending you guys forever, or at least until you make to Americana in Brazil. Oh, Americana in Brazil, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Well done, mate.
Oh, it's
Big app.
tough.
Big app.
last.
Sorry. I was like, I told
that's
you to
all
be a
right.
quick one.
No, it was just the last bit got me. It's probably the one before, the one you had to read.
Yeah.
really got me.
Well, I just wanted to go out on something high, and it was like so great that they'd step through what they did. And but yeah, the ones, there's some heavy stuff. Just it was such a privilege to be a part of the PCP community, and
It really is.
but there was so many that didn't get included. And I promise, like they inform everything we do, and I read them all. But some really heavy stuff.
Yeah, you carry them, don't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, mate. Carry them just like all the kids I meet in clinic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all the kids that I write about in books and all that stuff are all a part of me. But what a privilege. What a
Yeah,
privilege
huge
to
privilege.
carry those people with me.
Love it. So good. Hey, thanks. You got a clue on the next one? Oh, can
Yeah.
you come up with a clue quickly?
Yeah, you're good with clues. I'm in this movie. That probably doesn't know.
You are not in this movie. Sorry. Maybe you are. Hang on. Who can I say you are?
I'm trying to say it without giving it away. Do you know the saddest bit is?
What?
I relate to the partner.
The partner, it's so, okay, it's a compliment.
I don't want to be the partner.
No, it's a no. So there's the clue. The partner is effectively recast. It's not his character from a film he was in the 70s, but he's recast to one in the 90s. And it's kind of, he's a bit of a wild man in the other one. I don't remember what happens to him in the end of it.
You'd have to know that first
You'd
movie
have to
quite
know
well.
that first movie well, which he's in. And then he's kind of recast as an older version of him, but I'm not sure if he survives the first film, to be honest. I can't remember. But he's a bit of a wild man in the first film. It's a 70s film. And he's
Do you mean
not,
the movie or as a real person?
No, well, yeah.
In the movie, he does not survive.
No, he doesn't in that original film. No,
sorry.
No. The
Yes.
original film.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So do
Does
you know
not
the original
survive
film?
any- Yeah.
Yeah. I think he might survive that. Anyway, he's kind of wild in that, and he's kind of wild in this,
Yeah.
but he's older.
Yeah.
No one's going to get that. It's the worst clue.
Oh, no, we've spoken about it a lot. That's a good clue that'll get someone across the line.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're the first one in, you get sent a book. But yeah, so often someone gets it very quickly.
Okay. Yeah, good luck with that one. I've never given the clue before, and I reckon it's pretty rank.
Yeah.
But yeah, that gives you.
I still argue I'm in it. So, as one of the main two. There you go.
Yeah. We know which one I am.
Well, if I'm not both of them, which one I'd give you?
You know which one I am. Come on. Come on.
But yeah, she is beautiful.
Throwing them off the scent. Hey, enjoy the episode. I really loved that one. It was great. Thanks for everyone that contributed. It means a lot. We look forward to seeing you all in the coming weeks at our live shows.
Yeah.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. And I don't want to see anybody else either.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Just use your best judgment. We trust you.